بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Musa AlSalaam to come to Mount Tur, and there he was to come with 70 selected people from Bani Israel. Musa AlSalaam, while bringing them, and the object of that visit was to remain in seclusion on that mountain for a period of 30 days, which was then extended 10 more days to complete 40 days. وَوَعَدْنَا مُوسَى 30 لَيْلَةً فَأَتْمَمْنَاهَا بِعَشْرٍ فَتَمَّ مِيقَاتُ رَبِّهِ 40 لَيْلَةً. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to select 70 leaders, 70 people from his nation. وَاخْتَارَ مُوسَى 70 رَجُلًا لِمِيقَاتِنَا. Musa AlSalaam was extremely excited, as anyone would be. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to speak to me there. And I get to spend this time in seclusion and receive wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in his eagerness and zeal, he went ahead and the rest of the people were catching up. But as he was going ahead, he did not prepare the people that were behind him. And he also did not make arrangements for what was going to happen with Bani Israel, who they had left behind completely. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him, وَمَا أَعْجَلَكَ عَنْ قَوْمِكَ يَا مُوسَى? O Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, what has brought you so quickly ahead of everyone else? He says, هُمْ أُولَٰئِ عَلَىٰ أَثَرِي. Oh Allah, they are right behind me. They're not far behind. As for my coming earlier, عَجِلْتُ إِلَيْكَ رَبِّي لِتَرْضَى. I have come earlier to make you pleased. O Allah, I thought that you would see my haste and my zeal to come to you, and this would be pleasing to you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said something very different at that point. That since you have left, we have put your people into trial. And this man who lived amongst them by the name of Samiri, he has led them astray. And what has he done? He has exploited this opportunity of your absence and come out with this little trick through which he is distracting and deviating people. What was that trick? At that time, Musa AlSalaam did not know the details. All he knew was that Samiri has led his people astray. Musa AlSalaam spent that time on Mount Tur, and when he came back, he found everything in disarray. And large numbers of Bani Israel, and we were talking about being unstable, restless, going in any direction, following the flavor of the week or the flavor of the month, whatever was new and novel at that time, they would rush towards it. So he found that many of them had left Islam, they had left his religion. And what to do? So he had left Harun AlSalaam in charge, so he got very upset with him. Got him, grabbed him, scolded him. And I left you behind, how come you didn't look after them? How come you didn't stop them? He said that I could have taken some steps, but I did not want you to then admonish me for dividing them, for breaking them, because if I had taken severe steps to stop this fitna, then they would have been split into two, and there would have been fights and quarrels, and one would have called the other kafir, and you know where that leads. There would have been fights and killing and all these things, and you had left them in my care. So then Musa AlSalaam said, okay, let me deal with this Samiri. He said, what's going on with you? So Samiri has a very interesting story. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Musa AlSalaam by having him cast into this container or this box and set afloat in the river, eventually ending up at the doorstep of Fir'aun. Samiri had a similar story, except that his mother had taken him and hid him in some cave. Now, what is he supposed to do in the cave? So just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made arrangements for Musa AlSalaam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also made arrangements for Samiri. In fact, Samiri's real name was also Musa. So there in that cave, Allah Azza wa Jal made such an arrangement for him that Jibreel alayhi salam, according to some Mufassirin, Allama Sawi, he writes in his tafsir, in his Hashiyah on Jalalain, that Jibreel alayhi salam, according to some reports, he would go and provide food and sustenance for Samiri, who was just as small, as young as Musa alayhi salam was when he was cast into the river. And this is how Samiri was raised, in that cave and being brought food by the malaika. When Jibreel alayhi salam used to leave on he used to come on a horse and leave on that horse, Samiri used to observe that wherever this horse steps, grass starts growing. Through this, because it is, Jibreel alayhi salam is a nurani makhlooq, his horse would have also been some kind of a nurani makhlooq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wherever that horse steps, grass starts growing, everything becomes green. So as the boy started growing and observing, he started collecting the dirt, the soil from those areas. When Musa alayhi salam confronted him and said, what have you done and what is this? So he said, Basurtu bima lam yabsuru bihi. I have seen things that the rest of your people haven't had a chance to see because of this unique upbringing of his. فَقَبَضْتُ قَبْضَةً مِّنْ أَثَرِ الرَّسُولِ. I took handfuls of dirt from the footsteps of that messenger of Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam. فَقَذَفْتُهَا. He gathered this dirt, and what he told people while Musa alayhi salam was gone is, bring all your gold. And this was gold that essentially they were saving to pay in zakat and things like that. He collected all the gold, he had it melted and made into the form of a calf, a young cow. And he stuffed this cow, this golden cow, with that dirt. And when he did that, noises started coming out of this calf. جَسَدًا لَهُ خُوَارٌ. So when they see a calf that's made out of gold and it's making noises like a cow would make, they said, oh my goodness, this is some kind of a, pardon the pun, this is some kind of a holy cow. And he said, yes, it absolutely is. In fact, this is your God. هَذَا إِلَهُكُمْ وَإِلَهُ Musa. This is also the God of Musa. فَنَسِي, he's forgotten. Allahu Akbar. Look at that. Somebody who had such a special upbringing ends up in such a wrong place. Why? Because of wrong motives. The motive to gain influence and power, that kind of opportunistic attitude to exploit any opportunity that comes and turn it to one's advantage, to one's worldly advantage, really, whether it's to build name, or it's to build wealth, or to build power and influence. In this case, he wanted to overthrow Musa alayhi salam and be recognized as the new prophet and have his golden calf be recognized as the new God. And Allama Sawi writes these couplets in his Hashiyah that إِذَا الْمَرْءُ لَمْ يُخْلَقْ سَعِيدًا فِي الْأَزَلِ. When a person has not been created, has not been destined to have a good outcome, to have a good fortune, فَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ رَبَّ وَخَابَ الْأَمَلُ. Then whoever raises him also fails, and all hopes also go to waste. And he says, فَمُوسَى الَّذِي رَبَّاهُ جِبْرِيلُ كَافِرٌ وَمُوسَى الَّذِي رَبَّاهُ فِرْعَوْنَ مُرْسَلُ. That Musa, who was raised by Jibreel, ends up as a kafir. And that Musa, who was raised by Fir'aun, ends up as a prophet. Look at that. So it doesn't matter what resources and what asbab a person has. There are some people that have the religious upbringing or the religious environment or the resources to build their deen. But their motives are somewhere else, their mind is somewhere else. They haven't decided that this deen is the most important thing for them. Pleasing Allah is the most important thing. And when motives creep in, it makes the worst out of even the best people. And that's what happened with this Samiri. So this is one of the lessons. And in the end, obviously this man was a very intelligent, a very clever man. But look where he used his talents. He used it in the wrong direction, to go astray himself and to lead the whole of Bani Israel astray. In At-Tafsir al-Madhari, it's mentioned that hundreds of thousands of people left the religion of Musa AlSalaam in this period of 40 days. Hundreds of thousands. Now, back to Musa AlSalaam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him that, why have you come? Why have you come so early? The tone of the question is not a tone of being pleased. That, oh Musa, welcome, you have come rushing to me. It is not a tone of welcoming, it is a tone of warning and admonishment. What is this, O Musa? So, from this, one of the lessons that are derived is that whenever we are put in a position of responsibility over people, in Musa AlSalaam's case, his greater responsibility was for all of Bani Israel, whom he had been working with and working on for years and years and years. But they were his responsibility. And these 70 people also, instead of giving them, because they were already so unstable, so it would have been better if he had stayed with them and brought them with him, worked on them, prepared them for this you can say spiritual or sacred retreat, and build their minds, help them get ready and take from this. These 70 who were kind of directly under him and representing the rest of the nation, they were also disconnected from him. And what did that lead to? In the end, they started doubting and suspecting. They heard the sound of the wahi. They saw Musa AlSalaam coming down, but they still had doubts. Possibly, if Musa AlSalaam had stayed with them and worked on them while taking them, they would have had the stronger connection and the stronger bond. It is possible. And the other thing is that had the people of Bani Israel been prepared for this, or many people had been put in charge of looking after them, then it's possible that those outcomes that happened would not have happened. In any case, whenever we are put in a position of responsibility, whether it's the responsibility of a group of people, responsibility of an organization, responsibility of a family, then we need to take people along with us. We may feel like we are progressing very quickly in our deen, but if there are people under us, people who are directly under us and we have direct authority over them, then to what extent are we using our authority to bring them along? Often what happens in families is that the men of the family, they, for example, in the month of Ramadan, they're coming, they're listening to the lectures, they're having a chance to pray Taraweeh, and they're doing all of these great activities, and it's nurturing them, it's boosting their iman. But the people at home do not necessarily have that environment or that exposure. So two things happen. One is that this person is going up in their iman, in their deen, and the others aren't necessarily. So there is a mismatch of expectations. This person, all of a sudden, their expectations are higher from themselves and from their family. But the family hasn't been prepped for it. They're not ready for it. And this person is way up there in taqwa, in iman, in ibadah, in sunnah, in all of these things. But those people haven't really been given a chance to come up to that level or even close. So then there is a mismatch of expectations where this person is expecting this from them. They're not ready for it. They're not understanding the expectations. And they're not understanding what's the big deal. You were just like this just a little while ago, and all of a sudden everything has changed. And the other thing is a distance is created. Sometimes a person starts judging others that have not had a chance to walk on that journey, and that judgment ends up really spoiling things and ruining things. So these are some things for all of us to reflect on. One day everyone is in a position over other people. That time comes on everyone, even on women. There's a time when women are the main influence over their children, and that is who the children are looking to for nurturing, for guidance, for support, for everything. So the mothers also need to think of this same thing. Sometimes it's the mother of the house who goes under a beautiful metamorphosis. All of a sudden they become very religious, spiritual, and all of those things. They're observing hijab, they're doing all the right things, but the children have not had that backing or that upbringing just yet. And then the expectations become mismatched. The children are not brought up to that level, but rather than they are spoken down to, they are admonished, they are scolded, they are told, you're wrong, you're like this, you're like this, you're like this. It doesn't work. So our deen has a major theme of taking our people, whoever is with us, attached to us, taking them along with us on our spiritual journey, on our spiritual progress. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to implement this. This is why in this same surah, Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. You need to establish salat in your homes, and it says about working on your family first and remaining steadfast yourself second. Because a person who is thinking of salat is obviously going to be praying it. But the question is, how much effort are you making on other people? How much effort are you making on your family? What are you doing to establish salat in your house? Yes, you will do it. You will do it. For you, it's not the fact that you're praying or not praying. You're praying right now. You need to worry about your istiqamah. So the hukm of istiqamah, وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا, has been given. But for the others, you need to work on them. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us tawfiq and understanding. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.